What's going on, everybody? Wallpen Web Snapper here, bringing you a classic Wallpen Web Snapper display video where I sit here and come up with a few different displays for a certain group of comic book based characters for my future reference, for your guys' reference, inspiration, and just yeah, these are always just a ton of fun to make. I'm really glad to do another one of these. I don't have every single character I'd want for this display, but these are kind of like the core characters. I also have brought in, I know he was a, short-lived member of the New Warriors. We got Scarlet Spider. I had to spare one in my storage bins, so I was going to try him out in some of the displays that I put together. So there's some missing characters, I'm aware, but for now I wanted to just kind of mess with these guys, and I figured I might as well record it and make some content. Now, I'll be looking through a particular comic book that was my first introduction to these characters in, be looking at this book here. It's the Amazing Spider-Man Epic Collection, Volume 23, and it's the Hero Killers. And so, of course, you can see the New Warriors are on this cover here. And so this is my first introduction, and so I'll be flipping through to see what their powers look like, so how they're posed up. Let me see if I can just, right, so like there's Speedball, so that kind of bubbly, colorful energy effects. Is there anything else kind of sticking out to me? Mark Bagley did all the covers for these Hero Killer story, and I'm just so bummed he's not the one who did the interiors. So obviously, Firestar, we got a bunch of fire effects, and so for some of these more mundane, less popular groups, you got to put an emphasis on the accessories, right? So just to give a quick rundown, by the way, for which figures are. This is from the Amazing Friends 3-pack. This is from the Controller Build-A-Figure Wave. This was from the Void Build-A-Figure Wave. Walgreens exclusive? Honestly, don't know. And this was in the... Man, this was from a long time ago. I can't remember where Night Thrasher came from. Regardless, those are the figures that I'll be using. I got a whole bunch of accessories for my New Warriors in here to help spruce up the display, because I don't find the characters particularly that crazy interesting. So you got to really do what you can to make the display cooler, and that's through accessories and stuff like that. So without further ado, I'm probably going to aim to do 3 or 4 displays with this group. And yeah, we'll do the time-lapse setup where I just do the time-lapse so you guys can see it. I'll put some voiceover recording, and we'll just enjoy. I've been wanting to pose these guys up for some time. If you're following me on Instagram, you know I just got this figure in the mail. So I'm looking to round this team out as I go. So, without further ado, let's get into it. I was struggling this one. I started getting frustrated. Things just weren't working out. You can see I was going in one direction throughout that time lapse, and I had to change things up so often. There's some cool poses and stuff. This little speedball thing didn't work out. I probably won't stick with that. Fire's cool and all. I was trying to get him skateboarding, but the stand wasn't working, and yeah. Couldn't get him flying straight, so I had to put him at an angle, but first one. Just get some different angles here of it. Not too bad from this angle. I think this is the ideal angle here. So I guess it just depends on the perspective, right? And cool have like Dark Hawk and maybe Thrasher. But hey, that works. I guess, I mean, if I'm really desperate, I got my Spider-Man, I posed him up. I was like, okay, so when I put him in, I'll have this as a pose for whenever he goes in. So it'll be a later one, a later display. So let's do another one. But I definitely need a break. So just so you were aware, this is typically when I'm starting to get frustrated with things, is when I'll just like, okay, I'm gonna take a pause and come back a little later and try again with some like new creative energy, if that makes sense. This second I stop recording and just start messing with figures, ideas start coming. This is pretty sick. It's like this bouncy powers in action. Of course, it's just such a sick pose. About to put the skateboard, like he's kick flipping it. And then I got him all posed up. And he'll be flying out like that, leading the charge. And then I'm about to figure out how I'm about to pose him up. I wasn't sure how I felt about having her on the ground. I don't know. I just don't feel like she belongs on the ground necessarily. Plus, if this group isn't the most exciting, I should probably keep as many of them in the air doing cool things as possible. That's kind of what I'm thinking. So I guess I'll check back in once I figure some more things out, because being off camera is my good luck charm. There we have it. This one's pretty cool, much better than my last one, and I like a lot of stuff from it. So let's see, this is really neat. I really like this. I'm gonna keep this type of thing going with Speedball. I like this pose too. It shows his acrobatic tendencies and a little bit of his power, and I do like this pose for Justice. And then this one, I love the skateboarding, kick flip, midair, acrobatic stuff. It's just sick. I love it. I posted something like this on my Instagram too. And then I felt like having Firestar in a Firestar-like pose was kind of fitting. And then of course, having Nova rocketing, blasting out from the back is also pretty fitting. So again, I think that I hit the nail on the head pretty good with this setup. So what I'm gonna do is, I don't know, something just doesn't seem right. So I'm gonna mess with this a little bit, tweak things here and there. But I mean, I gotta say, I'm gonna get all these angles to capture, because this is pretty cool. Nova here. I just put it on those effects because in a lot of the comic book art, he's actually like missing the bottom half of his body for some reason. The artists just have him like blasting from the waist down, kind of like Cannonball actually. So we need a Nova that can function as kind of like Cannonball. But anyway, you can also see we're having some extra figures like Thrasher, Darkhawk, Namorita, would fit in really nice. Like right here, I need like Thrasher. Just someone more heavyweight and on the ground. So anyway, this one's really cool. I'm gonna change his pose up a little bit. We'll check back in, or maybe even try a time lapse if I'm feeling lucky. Here's a completed configuration. This one's okay, not my favorite, but sticking with poses I liked from the last one and improving in some areas, trying some new things again, just some experimentation. I really didn't like Night Thrasher's pose. That just wasn't enough for me. I didn't feel like I was utilizing that character to the most creative way possible. So, yeah. But other than that, the placement's pretty fine. Aesthetically, it's decent. It's nothing special, and I really was trying to go for something special. This one's a bit better, actually. I didn't do a time lapse because this just took a longer time. I was doing this over the course of a few days. I really like Justice's pose, and as you can see, I kept Nova's pose the same. I think it's a pretty good standard look for him. I really like how I'm doing Speedball. He's kind of like upside down, bouncing and flying through the air with those effects behind him. Yeah, I think that looks sick. And then I have Night Thrasher leading the group because he's technically the group leader, from my understanding. So correct me in the comments if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure he's the leader of this group. So, yeah, I had him front and center this time on the ground trying to lead the group. But yeah, this one's definitely a little bit better. I don't like how I have Firestar in the back. She just seems a little detached from the group. I like the pose, though. A lot of the poses are good. Another slight variation on what we saw before. I move Firestar over to the other side and have Justice now launching out from the middle. I like it. I like how this looks. I'm just not a fan of having a lot of like similar poses. So Justice and Nova are doing very similar things, and you can't really see Firestar's character as a whole. Speedball looks cool though. I was really having fun with just posing that guy with those effects. He's really fun to have him like twisted and turning through the air, and doing the same thing with Night Thrasher. Like I said, since he's the leader, but there's a huge gap right here. That's very ugly, and depending on what shelf and what height these guys sit on, that will be an eyesore for this layout. So I'm definitely not keeping this, but from certain angles, looks pretty cool. This one was a very vertical display. I tried to put Firestar back on the ground. I tried to change the side that Nova was on, and then have Justice again being the high point, like the tree topper. Speedball is doing the same thing because I really like it, and I wanted to try to get that in the final version of him leaping out with the bubbly effects following him. And again, I'll also try and get Firestar with that fire base just to add some flair to this display. Really I don't like it's not working. I don't know. I feel like this was an improvement. Again, much different than what I had been doing previously, but we got Nova back in that standard pose. Night Thrasher being the leader on the ground. I changed the way I did a Justice, but I really liked the really dynamic looking energy for Speedball. Yeah, that's still really cool. And then again, a very different take. We have Nova like hovering, Speedball and Night Thrasher kind of going out from the front. And then we kept that Firestar's fire base and the similar design for Justice as he's leaping out from the side, like in the previous one. I kind of like this. I think I would switch out Nova and Justice being the main guy hovering, and then Nova being the guy flying out. So that's what I think I'm going to try. And then, of course, I really like Speedball. That's really fun. So I think those three characters, I think this next one will be my last display, but if I can do this correctly, I think we'll finally lock in something that I want to keep. So there we have it. It's the last display, and this came out really well. I'm really glad that I got to end on this note. This was kind of what I was envisioning when I was thinking of the edits from the last
display that I showed, and it's got my favorite elements such as Night Thrasher doing the kickflip with the skateboard, doing something really cool instead of just standing on the ground. I really wanted to utilize him doing a skateboard trick in the air. And then I love this super dynamic, flowy, crazy twist spin for Speedball with his energy effects emitting out from behind him. And of course, I put Nova back into the pose that I felt most represented the character of him just shooting out with his arms shot outward, and I put Justice in the middle. This is kind of what I always envisioned when I got the figure. He'd be just kind of like hovering in the middle of the group like I had Nova in the last one. So again, followed through with that, and then I got Firestar with her arms out, kind of more representative of a star. I'm using my finger quotations as I say that. In a lot of art, she has her arms outstretched like that. So just a visual similarity to what we saw in the comics. Not sure if this is going to be one of my permanent displays that I have in my collection room, but just because it's just not that prominent of a group, in my opinion, and personal interest. Regardless, they're still a corner of the Marvel Universe, and I'd like to have their representation always be present. So it might go on my corner shelf and be one of the displays that stay in the corner shelf, but we'll see, because there's a lot of other displays that I want to have on there. But yeah, I think we did some really good work, a lot of good stuff. This is especially for my first pass at this team. A lot of good displays, and each display had its own warrant of cool things and just elements that I thought really brought this group to life. Actually, as I was looking back through some of the old displays, I really actually like how this one came out a lot. It's probably my second favorite. I just don't like how Night Thrasher's on the ground doing a really basic pose, and how Firestar is kind of not seen, but I really like the placement of all these characters. I probably would utilize the same pose that I have in my favorite, right, the one I really landed on for Speedball, and then yeah, if I could just tweak Speedball's pose and do something cooler with Night Thrasher, I think this would have been my final display. But maybe next time I'll be able to figure out how I want to do Night Thrasher in this kind of a setup. Anyways, that's going to wrap us up in this video, guys. Hope you enjoyed another display video. You found it useful if you have new warriors. Hopefully you can use some of the stuff here. Felt really good to go back to this original video format. I always loved making group displays, and it's just so fun to bring the comic book energy to life. So anyway, yeah, more stuff to come as always. Thank you for your support. It always means the world and makes making these videos so much fun to know that you guys like it too. So yeah, keep watching. Make sure you do cool stuff with your toys, and I'll see you guys in the next video.